My phone vibrated on the counter. A text from Amelia. Honey, might be late tonight. Last-minute project blew up. I smiled, typing back. No problem. Just don't overdo it. Want me to bring you something to eat? The little read receipt popped up, but no immediate reply followed. I was used to it. When Amelia was in the zone, the world outside her work ceased to exist. I glanced up at the overcast Chicago sky and quickened my pace toward home. We'd been married for 5 years. Our friends called us the model couple. Amelia, beautiful and brilliant, a creative director at a top ad agency. Me, the easygoing counterweight, a project manager at a tech firm. We lived in a decent-sized condo in Lincoln Park with a ragdoll cat named Leo. The moment I got home, Leo was winding himself around my ankles. I set down my coffee and scratched his ridiculously fluffy head. Mom's working late again, buddy. It's just us tonight. He let out a soft, questioning meow. I opened the fridge, contemplating dinner. When Amelia was out, I usually just winged it. As I was debating whether to DoorDash something, the buzzer rang. Delivery, a guy's voice crackled through the intercom. I buzzed him up and opened the door to a young man in a generic courier uniform, holding a small padded envelope. Package for Amelia Vance. Thanks. I took it and tossed it onto the console table in the entryway. It was light, with no return address. I thought about texting Amelia to let her know, but figured she was swamped and decided against it. Around 9, I was settled on the couch watching a movie, Leo purring in my lap. My phone rang. It was Amelia. Hey, babe. It's going to be even later than I thought. You should go to bed. Don't wait up. You need a ride? I asked. No, it's fine. A coworker will give me a lift. She sounded rushed. Gotta go. Bye. The line went dead. I looked at the clock on the wall and sighed. She always pushed herself this hard. I turned off the TV and headed for the bedroom. As I passed the entryway, I saw the package still sitting there. I paused, picked it up, and gave it a little shake. A faint clinking sound came from inside. Curiosity got the better of me. I tore it open. Inside was a delicate silver bracelet. Tucked in the box was a small card. For someone truly special. Can't wait for next time. G. I stared at it, frozen. G? Who was Jay? Why were they sending my wife a gift? Just then, my phone buzzed with a new text from Amelia. Hey, did you see a package for me? A coworker said they were sending over some project samples. My eyes fixed on the bracelet. I typed back. Yeah, I saw it. It's a bracelet. Her reply was instant. Oh, right. It's a sample from a client. We're thinking of using their brand for promotion. I'll bring it to the office tomorrow. The explanation sounded plausible, but a strange, uneasy feeling crept into my gut. I put the bracelet back in its box, deciding not to dwell on it. At 1 a.m, the sound of the front door woke me. Amelia tiptoed into the bedroom, a faint scent of perfume clinging to her, one I didn't recognize. You're home, I mumbled, half asleep. Yeah, did I wake you? She quickly shed her jacket and slipped into the bathroom. The shower turned on. I could hear her humming softly. Half an hour later, smelling of my body wash, she slid into bed beside me. I reached for her, but she gently pushed my arm away. I'm so tired. Tomorrow. Okay, I said, pulling my hand back and closing my eyes. But sleep was gone. The next morning, I was up before her, making her favorite, bacon and eggs. As she walked into the kitchen in her sleep shirt, the sunlight caught her, and for a moment, she looked like a painting. You were up so late. You should take a sick day, I said, concerned. Amelia shook her head, taking the mug of coffee I offered. Can't. Big meeting today. As she took a sip, I noticed a faint red mark on her neck. What's that on your neck? I asked. Her hand flew to the spot, a flicker of panic in her eyes before it was gone. Probably an allergy. My skin gets so sensitive when the seasons change. I nodded, not pushing it. After breakfast, she did her makeup in a hurry, slipped on the silver bracelet, and got ready to leave. Aren't you taking the client's sample back to the office? I asked. She paused. Oh, right. I forgot to tell you. My boss said I could keep it for reference. She gave me a quick kiss on the cheek. See you tonight. I stood at the window and watched her walk toward a black sedan parked at the end of our block. A man in sunglasses was in the driver's seat. Amelia smoothed her hair before getting in. That night, she worked late again. I was cleaning up the kitchen after another solo dinner when her phone, left on the coffee table, lit up. I glanced over and saw a notification banner. Last night was amazing. When can I see you again? I picked up the phone. It was locked. As I stood there, hesitating, it lit up again with another message from the same person. Forgot to mention, you left your earring in my car. My heart started hammering against my ribs. Amelia had been wearing different earrings this morning. I put the phone down and walked out onto the balcony, taking a deep breath. There had to be a rational explanation. Amelia wouldn't lie to me. She got home close to midnight, looking tired but in a good mood, humming as she tossed her purse on the couch. You got a few texts from coworker, I said, trying to keep my voice even. Amelia picked up her phone and glanced at the screen, then laughed. Oh, that's just Jason, the new intern in my group. He's always sending the weirdest stuff. She typed a quick reply and then set her phone to silent. He's leaving tomorrow. We had a farewell happy hour for him today. He mentioned an earring. I couldn't stop myself from saying, ah. She smacked her forehead. I knew I was missing one. Must have lost it when we were out. It's fine, they were cheap. She came over and hugged me, resting her head on my shoulder. I'm sorry I've been working so much lately. As soon as this project is over, let's take a trip, okay? Just the two of us. I breathed in the familiar scent of her shampoo, and all my doubts began to dissolve. Yeah, where do you want to go? Anywhere. As long as it's with you, she said, tilting her head up to kiss my chin. That night, we made love for the first time in what felt like weeks. Amelia was more passionate than usual, reminding me of when we first started dating. Afterward, she fell asleep almost instantly. I just stared at the ceiling, the word from the text message flashing in my mind. Would an intern really text his boss? Last night was amazing? Would he say she left an earring in my car? But maybe he was just an overfamiliar kid. Maybe Amelia was telling the truth. I turned on my side and looked at her sleeping face, her long lashes casting shadows in the moonlight. How could this beautiful woman ever betray me? I was being paranoid. The next day was Saturday, and we had reservations at a new restaurant. Amelia dressed up, wearing a red dress I'd never seen before. Is that new? It's gorgeous, I said. Lily and I found it last week when we were out shopping. Never had a chance to wear it. She did a little spin. Do you like it? You look stunning, I said, and I meant it. Amelia looked good in everything. At the restaurant, her phone kept vibrating on the table. She'd glance at it, a frown creasing her brow. Work stuff. So annoying. She turned the phone off completely. Tonight is just for us. We had a perfect, romantic dinner. On the way home, she looped her arm through mine, her head resting on my shoulder. We passed a jewelry store, and she stopped, looking at a pair of diamond earrings in the window. So beautiful, she murmured. Birthday present? I asked. She smiled and shook her head. Way too expensive. Besides, I have plenty of earrings. She pulled me along. Watching the stars with you is enough for me. Later that night, I got up to use the bathroom and noticed Amelia wasn't in bed. I walked out to the living room and saw her on the balcony, on the phone, her voice a hushed whisper. No, I'm really not free this week. Does he know? Don't be silly, he won't find out a thing. She saw me approaching and quickly ended the call, a flash of panic on her face. Did I wake you? Who's calling so late? I asked. Lily. She's fighting with her boyfriend again, Amelia said, stuffing her phone into the pocket of her robe. Let's go back inside, it's cold out here. I wrapped an arm around her thin shoulders and felt her trembling slightly. Whether from the cold or something else, I couldn't tell. Back in bed, she curled into a ball, her back to me. I gently stroked her long hair, remembering how, when we were first married, she always had to be sleeping with her head on my arm. I didn't know when this small distance had opened up between us. But every marriage has its ups and downs, right? Amelia was under a lot of pressure at work. It was normal for her to be a little on edge. I told myself to stop overthinking, to give her the space and trust she deserved. Because I loved her. I'd loved her since the first time I saw her in college, and that had never changed. Even if the whole world told me she was wrong, I would still be on her side. Because she was my Amelia, my wife, and that was enough. The next morning, I woke up before Amelia, slipping out of bed quietly. In the kitchen, I pan-fried eggs just the way she liked them, sunny side up, toasted some sourdough, and brewed a pot of our favorite dark roast coffee. Just as I was setting the plates on the table, she shuffled out of the bedroom, rubbing her eyes. Happy anniversary, honey. I put down the tray and went to hug her. Amelia froze for a second, then broke into a radiant smile. Oh my God, I completely forgot it was today. She smacked her forehead in frustration. I'm so sorry, babe. I didn't get you anything. Having you is enough. I kissed her forehead and led her to the table. Eat first. I have a surprise for you. Her eyes lit up like a little kid's. She was wearing one of my old t-shirts as a nightgown, the collar stretched out and hanging off one shoulder, revealing the delicate line of her collarbone. My gaze lingered there for a second. A faint, reddish mark was barely visible. Mosquito bite? I asked, gesturing toward it. Her fingers flew to the spot, pulling the collar straight. Yeah, it was so itchy last night. She quickly changed the subject. So what's the surprise? I didn't press it. The late summer mosquitoes really were vicious, and we'd left the window open. After breakfast, I had her close her eyes and led her into the living room. When I let go, she saw an elegant gift box on the coffee table. Open it, I said, my voice full of anticipation. Amelia carefully unwrapped the paper and lifted the lid. Inside lay a white gold necklace. The pendant was a small, brilliant sapphire surrounded by tiny diamonds. It's an upgrade, I explained, from the one you wore on our first date. Remember? You said that one was just costume jewelry, and one day you'd get the real thing. Her eyes immediately welled up. She stroked the necklace. Her voice choked with emotion. You remembered. Ethan, this is too much. Nothing's too much for you. I fastened it around her neck, the sapphire glowing against her fair skin. She suddenly turned and hugged me, tighter than she had in a long time. I love you, Ethan. I really, really do. Her voice held an emotion I couldn't quite place. Something like guilt, or maybe resolve. But just as quickly, she let go, her bright smile returning. So, how are we celebrating today? I booked a table at that 3-star Michelin spot downtown for dinner. And this afternoon, we can finally go see that movie you've been wanting to see, I said. Amelia cheered and kissed my cheek. Perfect. I'm going to go shower. She went into the bathroom, humming a tune. As I was clearing the breakfast dishes, her phone started ringing in the bedroom. I tried to ignore it, but it rang 3 times in a row, insistent. I walked into the bedroom and saw the screen lit up. 3 notifications from a Mr. Davison. Last night was incredible. Same time next week. You were intoxicating. My finger hovered over the screen, tempted to see more. Just then, the water in the bathroom shut off. I quickly put the phone down, pretending I had just walked in. Ethan, Amelia came out, wrapped in a towel, her hair dripping. What's up? Your phone was ringing off the hook. A Mr. Davison, I think, I said, keeping my voice as casual as I could. Her expression tightened for a split second before relaxing into a laugh. Oh, that guy. A big client. He's always sending the most cringeworthy texts. She picked up the phone, scanned the messages, and rolled her eyes with theatrical disgust. These middle-aged guys think a few flirty messages will get them a discount. It's pathetic. She tossed the phone onto the bed and came to hug me. Forget about him. Today is our day. I breathed in the clean scent of her body wash, the knot of suspicion in my stomach slowly uncoiling. She was right. Today was special. I wouldn't let work ruin it. The movie was great. Amelia held my hand the whole time, occasionally leaning on my shoulder to whisper a comment. The new necklace I'd given her caught the dim light of the theater. I'm just going to run to the restroom, she whispered as the movie neared its climax. I nodded and kept my eyes on the screen. 5 minutes passed, and she wasn't back. I started to worry, pulling out my own phone to text her when I realized she'd left hers on the seat next to me. As I was about to get up to look for her, she returned, her lips looking fuller and redder, as if she'd just reapplied her lipstick. The line was insane, she said, smoothing her hair and taking my hand again. After the movie, we strolled through the Gold Coast, Amelia excitedly window shopping. She stopped in front of a menswear store. That shirt would look amazing on you, she said, pointing to a deep navy button-down. I was surprised. She rarely picked out clothes for me. After I tried it on, she insisted on buying it, swiping her own card for the hefty price tag. Anniversary present, she said with a smile, even though it's not as nice as your necklace. Dinner was at a formal French restaurant at the top of a skyscraper. Amelia wore a black, backless dress that was absolutely breathtaking. As the waiter poured our champagne, she raised her glass, her eyes soft. To 5 years, she said, and to many, many more. As our glasses chimed, I felt a wave of peace. The work stress, those little doubts, they all seemed insignificant. I loved this woman, and she loved me. That was all that mattered. I'm just going to touch up my makeup, Amelia said, grabbing her clutch and excusing herself. I watched her elegant silhouette disappear around a corner, sipping my wine and feeling perfectly content. 10 minutes went by, and she still wasn't back. I was about to go look for her when my phone vibrated. A text from her. Ran into a client, has to chat for a sec. Be right back. I frowned. A client on our anniversary? It seemed too coincidental. But then again, with her job, networking was constant. I texted back, okay, don't be long. It was nearly 20 minutes before she finally returned, a faint, unfamiliar scent of cigarette smoke clinging to her, and she never smoked. Sorry, that client was so clingy, she said, downing half her glass of champagne in one go. Where were we? Which client was it? I asked. Oh, just someone from Mr. Davison's company, marketing department. Her eyes darted away. Boring work stuff? Let's not talk about it. She cut a piece of foie gras and then said suddenly, oh, by the way, I might have to go out of town for a few days next week. A business trip to New York. That's sudden, I said, putting my fork down. You didn't mention it before. It's a last-minute thing. A big project we're pitching for, she explained. Probably 3 or 4 days. I nodded, not asking any more questions. Her work often involved sudden travel. For the rest of the dinner, she was even more affectionate than before, reminiscing about when we were dating, her eyes growing misty at the memories. We got home late. Amelia was a little drunk, giggling as she leaned against me. I helped her to the bed and took off her heels. I had such a good time today, she said, looping her arms around my neck, her eyes hazy. You're the best person I've ever met, Ethan. I kissed her forehead. Go to sleep. You have work tomorrow. She was out in minutes, her breathing even. I gently moved her arm from my waist and went to the living room for a glass of water. As I passed the entryway, I noticed her clutch wasn't fully closed. A slip of paper was sticking out. I wasn't trying to snoop, but the handwriting caught my eye. Saturday, 2 p.m., the usual spot. Miss you. G. That J again. I stared at the note, my heart pounding. This was clearly not a work-related memo. I tucked it back where I found it and returned to the bedroom. Lying next to my sleeping wife, it took me a long time to fall asleep. The next morning, Amelia was up before me, already dressed in a sharp suit, her makeup flawless. So early. I mumbled. Morning meeting. She gave me a quick kiss. Might be another late night. Don't wait up. I nodded, watching her put on the sapphire necklace I'd given her. Seeing it made me feel a little better. At least she cherished my gift. After she left, I got up to get ready for work. In the bathroom, I noticed a tube of lipstick on the counter I'd never seen before, a vibrant, true red. Amelia usually wore dusty rose or nude shades. She rarely wore something so bold. I picked it up. A small sticker on the bottom read, "Display sample, not for resale." Probably just a sample from her office, I told myself. On my way to work, I passed a flower shop and had an idea. I ordered a bouquet of red roses to be delivered to her office that afternoon. The card read, "The anniversary continues. I'll love you forever." At 3 o'clock, I got a text from her. "Got the flowers, they're beautiful. Everyone in the office is so jealous of my romantic husband. Love you." A warmth spread through my chest. I was being paranoid. All those little inconsistencies had perfectly reasonable explanations. Amelia loved me. Our marriage was happy, and that's what mattered. When I got off work, I texted her, "Really working late? Wanted to pick you up." Her reply was fast. "No need, it's going to be really late. I'll just get an Uber." "Okay, be safe," I replied, trying to suppress the unease rising in my chest. At 9, I was home alone, watching TV, mechanically stroking Leo, who had curled up on my lap. My eyes were on the screen, but my mind was elsewhere. My phone rang. It was a number I didn't recognize. "Hello. Hi, is this Ethan Hayes?" A woman's voice asked. "Yes, this is he. Who's calling?" "I'm a server at the Velvet Hour. A woman left her phone here, and your number was in her recent call, so..." I frowned. "What kind of phone?" "An iPhone 13, pink case, and the wallpaper is 2 cats." My heart sank. That was Amelia's phone. The wallpaper was a picture of Leo and our other cat, Milo, who had passed away last year. What did the woman look like? I heard my own voice tremble slightly. Long hair, wearing a black dress. Really pretty. She was with a guy. I hung up, my hands shaking uncontrollably. Amelia said she was working, but she was at a bar? With a man? No, it had to be a mistake. Maybe she lent her phone to a coworker? Maybe she had a last-minute client meeting there? I desperately searched for an explanation. Just then, I heard a key in the lock. Amelia walked in and jumped when she saw me sitting in the dark. "Why are the lights off? Where's your phone?" I asked, my voice flat. Her expression froze. "It's in my purse." She started rummaging through her bag, her face growing pale. "That's weird. I swear I put it in here." "A server from the Velvet Hour just called. They said they found your phone," I said, looking straight into her eyes. "I thought you were working late." Her eyes widened and then filled with tears. "I'm sorry, I lied to you." She sank onto the couch. "I did go to the bar, but it's not what you think." I waited in silence, my heart pounding. It was Lily. She broke up with her boyfriend, and she begged me to go out with her for a drink. I was afraid you'd be worried, so I just said I was working. Amelia sobbed. "I know I shouldn't have lied, but Lily was a complete wreck, and I didn't think you'd understand." I let out a long, slow breath and went to her, pulling her into a hug. "You idiot. Of course I'd understand you helping a friend. Just don't lie to me next time, okay?" Amelia nodded against my chest, her tears soaking my shirt. I stroked her back, feeling a pang of guilt. How could I have suspected her? She was just trying to spare me any worry. "I'll go get your phone," I said, kissing her forehead. "No, it's fine. I'll get it tomorrow," she said, wiping her tears. "It's so late. Let's just go to bed." That night, Amelia was unusually clingy, holding me tight as if she were afraid I'd disappear. I held her, breathing in the faint scent of wine in her hair, and told myself to stop being so suspicious. Amelia loved me. That was enough. The rest didn't matter. I was in the kitchen slicing an apple when I heard her say it, the knife pausing mid-air. That sudden, last-minute thing. A huge client insists on an in-person meeting. She put her phone down and gave me an apologetic smile. I'm sorry. Another weekend shot. I put the apple slices on a plate and brought them into the living room. It's fine. Work is work. I sat next to her, taking her hand to check if her nail polish was dry. It's supposed to get cold in Napa this week. Make sure you pack a jacket. Amelia leaned over and kissed my cheek. You're always so thoughtful. I caught a glimpse of a notification on her phone screen. The profile picture was a man in sunglasses. Amelia quickly flipped the phone over, her expression unchanging. By the way, she said, smoothly changing the subject, I'm probably going to be swamped. I might not be able to answer if you call at night. I get it, I nodded. Just text me when you're done for the day. Don't work too hard. Amelia smiled and rested her head on my shoulder. She was wearing a new perfume, heavier than her usual scent, with an exotic, musky note I couldn't place. New perfume? I asked. MMHMM. Client sample. She held up her wrist for me to smell. Like it. I took a gentle sniff. The scent reminded me of a high-end hotel lobby. It's nice, but I still like your usual one better. Amelia just smiled and said nothing. Her phone vibrated again. This time, she just silenced it. A week later, I drove her to O'Hare. She looked sharp in a tailored pantsuit, pulling a small roller bag behind her. Are you sure you don't want me to come with you? I asked, fixing a strand of hair the wind had blown across her face. I could use my vacation days. Silly, Amelia said, pinching my cheek. I'm going for work, not for fun. I wouldn't have any time for you anyway. I nodded. Okay, well, be safe. Text me when you land. I will, she said, waving as she walked toward the security checkpoint, her figure quickly swallowed by the crowd. Back home, Leo rubbed against my ankles, meowing. I crouched down to stroke his soft fur. Just this again, little guy. For the next 3 days, Amelia's texts were sparse. She said her schedule was packed with back-to-back meetings, followed by client dinners. We only spoke on the phone a couple of times, briefly. Each time, it was quiet in the background, not like a noisy restaurant or bar. On the third night, I was tidying up our bedroom and found a receipt tucked deep in her nightstand drawer. It was from a luxury hotel in Napa, dated last week, the day she'd told me she was working late at the office. The charge was for a dinner for two. I stared at the slip of paper, my heart starting to race. Amelia had been in Napa last week. Why did she lie and say she was at work? Just then my phone buzzed. A text from her. Flight home is tomorrow at noon. I miss you so much. I hesitated, then typed back. I miss you too. Hey, were you in Napa last week? I found a hotel receipt. The read receipt appeared, but for several long minutes, there was no reply. I stared at the screen, my palms growing damp. Finally, she responded. Oh, that thing is still around? That was from last month when Lily and I went to Napa for that girl's trip. I must have forgotten to expense it. Why are you digging through old stuff? I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. It was with Lily. I did remember her mentioning a weekend trip with her best friend last month. I'd just forgotten the details. I wasn't digging, just found it while I was cleaning, I replied. I'll pick you up from the airport tomorrow. No need. The company's sending a car for us, she texted back. Just wait for me at home. The next afternoon, Amelia dragged her suitcase through the door, her face a mask of exhaustion and satisfaction. The first thing she did was give me a long, deep hug. I'm so drained, she mumbled into my shoulder. It's so good to be home. I took her suitcase and caught a whiff of an unfamiliar men's cologne in her hair. See a lot of clients? From morning till night, she said, shrugging off her jacket to reveal a silk blouse I'd never seen. But we closed a huge deal. The partners are thrilled. I nodded and put her suitcase in the bedroom. I glanced at the airline tag still attached to the handle. The flight date was indeed from 3 days ago, just as she'd said. Over dinner, Amelia chattered excitedly about the sights in Napa, but was vague about the actual work. I served her food and listened, the simple joy of having her back washing away my doubts. Seeing her smile was enough to make them all seem foolish. This is for you, she said suddenly, pulling a small, elegant box from her purse. I got in Napa. I opened it. Inside was a pair of silver cufflinks, engraved with our initials. They're beautiful, I said, genuinely surprised. Thank you, honey. Amelia smiled as she watched me try them on, her gaze so tender it made my heart ache. I'm glad you like them. That night, she was more passionate than she had been in months. Afterward, she lay in my arms, tracing patterns on my chest with her finger. Ethan, have you ever wondered what our lives would be like if we hadn't ended up together? I thought for a moment, probably not as good as this. You. Amelia was quiet for a long time. Me too, she finally whispered. You were the best choice I ever made. There was a seriousness in her voice that I rarely heard. I kissed her forehead and didn't ask what she meant. In the weeks that followed, the change in Amelia became more pronounced. The number of late nights she worked dwindled. She spent more time at home. She started trying to cook my favorite dishes and stopped going out with her friends every weekend. One Friday night, A month later, I came home to a candlelit dinner on the table. Amelia was wearing the same dress she'd worn on our first date, pouring red wine. "What's the special occasion?" I asked, stunned. "Just wanted to surprise you," she said, handing me a glass. "Thank you for always loving me so much." After dinner, we watched an old movie we used to love when we were dating. Amelia curled up against me, quieter and more content than I'd seen her in years. "I have something to tell you," she said suddenly, halfway through the film. My heart skipped a beat. "What is it?" "I put in for a department transfer." She looked up at me. "From the creative team to administration. It's less money, but means no more constant travel and no more client schmoozing." I stared at her, astonished. "Really? But you've always loved your job." "I do, but..." She sighed softly. "I've realized lately that some things are more important than a career. Like you. Like our home." I pulled her into a tight hug, too moved to speak. The thought that she would give up a career she was passionate about for me filled me with both joy and a sense of guilt. "You don't have to do that for me." "It's not just for you," she interrupted. "It's for me too. I want a calmer life." From that day on, Amelia truly changed. She turned down all weekend work events. The late-night calls from clients stopped. She took up gardening, started baking, and even signed us up for a couples yoga class. One afternoon, I was scrolling through photos on her phone and accidentally tapped on a recently deleted album. There were a few pictures of her with a man I didn't recognize. They looked like they were at a bar, their arms around each other, laughing. Before I could get a closer look, Amelia snatched the phone from my hand. "Ugh, don't look at my old, ugly photos," she said, quickly permanently deleting them. That was from a college reunion. We were all drunk and just messing around. I nodded, letting it go. Everyone has a past. I trusted her. Gradually, all the little red flags disappeared. Her phone was quiet. Her schedule was simple and transparent. She even went back to wearing the light, floral perfume she wore when we first met. On our 6th wedding anniversary, she baked a cake from scratch and wrote me a long letter about our life together. One part moved me to tears. For all these years, I felt like I was searching for something, but I never realized that the thing I was looking for was right here beside me all along. Thank you for never giving up on me, even during the times when I didn't love myself enough. I read the letter, my eyes growing misty. Amelia rested her head on my shoulder, her fingers intertwined with mine. "We're going to be happy like this forever, right?" she asked softly. "Of course," I said, kissing her fingers. "We'll be together forever and ever." That night, I had a dream. In it, Amelia was standing far away, surrounded by several blurry, masculine figures. She looked at me with an expression full of apology, then slowly started walking toward me as the figures dissolved into smoke. When I woke up, Amelia was sleeping peacefully beside me. The morning light streamed through the curtains, illuminating her face. She was beautiful. I got up quietly to make her breakfast. As I passed the small office, I noticed her journal lying open on the desk, a new habit of hers. A single page was visible. Out of respect, I meant to close it, but a few words caught my eye. Finally put an end to that absurd time, and truly understood what love is. I didn't read any further. I gently closed the journal. Everyone has their own journey. What mattered was the here and now and the future. Amelia had chosen me. She had chosen our marriage, and that was all I needed to know. A few months later, we bought a small house with a yard in the suburbs. On moving day, Amelia was as giddy as a little girl, running from room to room, planning where everything would go. "We can put a rocking chair here," she said, pointing to the back porch. "We can sit out here in the summer and look at the stars." Her eyes were sparkling. I looked at her, my heart full. This was the life I'd always wanted. Simple, peaceful, and full of love. While sorting through old boxes, I found a container filled with keepsakes, movie ticket stubs, souvenirs from trips, dried flowers. At the very bottom was a slip of paper with a hotel room number and a date, and a single line of handwriting. "Waiting for you. Don't disappoint me. G." "What's this?" I asked casually, holding it up. Amelia walked over and glanced at it, her expression unreadable. "Oh, I think that was for some client event. I can't believe I still have it." She took the paper from my hand and tossed it into a trash bag full of packing materials. "Let's not keep useless junk. We're starting a new life." That night, we fell asleep on the floor of our new living room, surrounded by unpacked boxes. Amelia slept soundly in my arms, a small smile on her lips. "Good night, my love," I whispered and turned off the lamp. In the darkness, I felt a profound sense of peace and contentment. Whatever had happened in the past, we were happy now, and we would stay that way.